The text says, "Hey, sorry had to run, something came up." And she's been staring at that exclamation point for 45 seconds. 45 seconds is a long time to look at a single punctuation mark. Try it. Stare at one dot on your wall right now and count to 45. And feel how your brain starts crawling out of itself around second 20. That's where Emma is. Parked. Lot C, third row from the back, 11 in the morning, engine off, windows up, phone balanced on the steering wheel like a small grenade she's trying to figure out from the outside. The exclamation point is the problem. Or, no. The exclamation point is too much. It's performing. It's cheerful in a way that says, "I need you to believe I'm fine." And nobody texts like that unless they're not fine. And everyone in that group chat has a brain, and someone will read, "Something came up," and they'll just know that nothing came up. That she left a perfectly functional study group in the middle of an organic chemistry review because she couldn't sit in a chair anymore. Delete the exclamation point. "Hey, sorry had to run, something came up." No, now it's flat. Now it's cold. Now it reads like a woman in a parking lot who is taking a normal sentence way too seriously, which, yeah, but they don't need to know that. Period makes it a statement. Statements require confidence she does not currently have clearance to project. Delete the period. "Hey, sorry had to run, something came up." And now it just ends. Mid-air. Like she got bored of her own excuse halfway through and wandered off. Which honestly might be worse than either version before it, because at least punctuation implies you finished a thought. This implies she didn't even care enough to close the sentence, and Emma cares. That's the whole thing. That's the entire architecture of her. She cares at a volume that could strip paint about everything all the time, including right now, about a period. She locks the phone. The parking lot hums its dull little life on the other side of the glass. Two girls walk past the hood of the car mid-conversation, their voices arriving as shapes, not words, just the muffled rise and fall of people who are outside and okay, and moving through 11 a.m. like it's just a time on a clock, and not a situation. The leaf blower across the quad hasn't stopped in 10 minutes. It's the kind of sound that disappears if you let it, becomes wallpaper, becomes nothing. But she can't let it. She keeps catching it. The drone pulls her back to the surface every time she starts to sink into the phone, and it's making the inside of this car feel like the bottom of a pool where someone left the filter running. 20 minutes ago, she was a person sitting in a chair. That's it. That's where this starts. She walked into the study room on the second floor of the science library, pulled out a chair, sat down, opened her laptop, and then a girl she half recognizes, Hannah, said, "Oh, that's actually, I just had my jacket there," and pointed at a denim jacket folded over the back that Emma somehow, impossibly, did not see. And the girl smiled, and Emma said sorry and got up and grabbed the next chair over, and that was it. That was the entire event. Two people, one chair, a jacket, a resolution that took less than 4 seconds. The girl didn't care. The girl was already looking at her phone before Emma finished standing. But Emma kept going. "I didn't even see the jacket. I'm so sorry. I usually check. I don't know why I didn't see it." And the girl looked up, not annoyed, worse, confused. A little confused about why this was still happening, about why the girl who took her chair was now 3 sentences deep into an apology for something that was already over. And Emma saw that confusion land in real time and she knew right then, that she was making it worse. That every word out of her mouth was adding weight to a moment the other girl had already released back into the air. So Emma laughed. Not a real laugh, a weird, breathy, performative thing, the laugh equivalent of that exclamation point, designed to say, "I'm easy, I'm light. I'm not the kind of person who makes things weird." except it made things weird. She heard it leave her own mouth, and it sounded like someone doing an impression of a person who knows how to be casual. And the girl, Hannah maybe, did a small smile and looked back down at her notes, and that was the end. Except it wasn't the end. Because Emma sat there for another 11 minutes with her laptop open and her eyes on a paragraph about amino acid side chains, and her brain running that laugh through a spectrograph, analyzing its frequency, its duration, the exact pitch where it crossed from normal to desperate, and she could feel the air in that room pressing on her like a hand. And at minute 12, she said, "I'm gonna go grab water." And she closed her laptop and she walked out, and she didn't go get water. She walked straight through the library, down the stairs, across the quad, past the leaf blower, into Lot C, third row from the back, and got into this car, and closed the door, and locked it. She picks the phone back up. "Hey, sorry, had to run, something came up." She adds a period. She deletes it. She adds an exclamation point. She deletes it. The leaf blower drones. 2 more students pass, laughing about something she'll never know. The sun hits the windshield at an angle that makes the dust on the dashboard glow, and she stares at that dust, each particle suspended and visible and ordinary. And for a second, she genuinely doesn't remember what she was doing. She looks at the phone. She locks it. She sets it face down on the passenger seat. She puts her hands in her lap. She sits. Here's the version Emma tells herself. She's polite. She's considerate. She over-explains because she respects people's time and doesn't want anyone to feel slighted. And that's just who she is. A careful person. A person who reads rooms and adjusts accordingly and makes sure no one around her is ever left holding an inconvenience she created. And isn't that good? Isn't that what everyone says they want? Someone who's thoughtful, someone who notices, someone who cares about the small things? That's the version. Clean, noble. A girl with a big heart and a slight anxiety problem. Nothing a good night's sleep won't fix. Now here's what's actually happening. Every single time Emma explains herself, every time she adds that second sentence, that third sentence, that breathy little context she didn't need to provide, she's not clarifying, she's purchasing something. The explanation is currency. She hands you an excessive amount of context, and in return she expects, no, she requires, a very specific product. Your confirmation that she hasn't disrupted anything, that she's still welcome, that the air in the room hasn't changed because she's in it. She told Hannah she didn't see the jacket. Fine, true, useful even, communication. But then she said she's usually more careful, and that's not information, that's a receipt. She's handing Hannah a small document that says, "Please note for your records that this incident is not representative of my standard behavior, and I remain a low-risk presence in your environment." She's not talking to Hannah. She's filing a claim with Hannah's opinion of her, and the expected payout is a nod or a "you're fine," or any small signal that her standing has not been downgraded. And here's where it gets ugly. Here's where Emma would lock the phone again and stare at the dust if she could hear this out loud. She needs that payout. Not wants, needs. The way a vending machine needs the coin before it releases the can. The whole system jams without it. Because somewhere, and it doesn't matter when, it doesn't matter where, this isn't an origin story. Somewhere Emma made a quiet, private calculation that went like this. I am not interesting enough, or warm enough, or effortless enough to be wanted in a room just because I'm there. But I can be easy. I can be the person who never takes up space wrong. And if I am that, if I am aggressively, preemptively, exhaustingly low maintenance, then people will let me stay. Let me stay. Not invite, not want. Let. That's the word. That's the engine under all of this. Emma is not navigating social anxiety. Emma is negotiating a lease. Every room she walks into, she is applying for permission to remain. And the rent is making sure nobody ever has to feel even a flicker of friction because of her. The over-explaining, the weird laugh, the running out for water that doesn't exist, it's all rent. Paid early, paid double, paid before the landlord even asks. Because if she pays enough, maybe no one will ever review the terms and realize the tenant isn't worth the space. And that would be enough. That would be the whole wound. Being a person who thinks she has to earn her square footage in every room she enters is already so heavy it could flatten a house. If that were the bottom of it, you could almost forgive the machinery, almost understand the constant apology tour as just survival. But it's not the bottom. Because Emma doesn't just pay the rent, she audits. Every over-explanation she offers is also a test. A small, invisible, perfectly engineered loyalty test that the other person didn't agree to take and doesn't know they're being graded on. When she told Hannah, "I usually check, I don't know why I didn't see it," she wasn't just explaining, she was installing a tripwire. If Hannah said, "Oh my God, totally fine, don't even worry about it," then Hannah passed. The wire stays slack. The room stays safe. Emma can exhale for the next 40 minutes and pretend that exhale isn't borrowed. But if Hannah didn't respond, which is what happened, Hannah just did that small smile and looked away. Then the wire trips. And now Emma is sitting in a car in Lot C disassembling that smile frame by frame. Because the test returned an inconclusive result. And inconclusive is the one answer her system cannot process. Not failure, not success, just nothing. Just a person who moved on before Emma's invisible audit was complete. Think about that for a second. Really sit in it. Emma turned a stranger into an unwilling participant in a loyalty exam. She wrote the questions, administered the test, and is now grading the results. And Hannah doesn't even know she was enrolled. Hannah is probably back in that study room right now, highlighting something about protein synthesis, and she will never, not once, for the rest of her entire life, think about this chair moment again. It is gone from Hannah's mind. It was never in Hannah's mind. It was a 4-second nothing that evaporated on contact with air. But Emma is out here holding the answer sheet, circling the parts that worry her. And the really brutal part, the part that makes this more than just a sad girl in a parking lot, is that Emma knows. She knows the test is rigged. She knows that she's manufacturing these micro-crises so that she can feel something specific, either the relief of passing or the familiar ache of failing. Both of those are feelings. Both of those confirm she exists in relation to other people. What she cannot tolerate, what sends her to the car, to the locked phone, to the dust on the dashboard, is the third option. The one where no one is thinking about her at all, where the interaction didn't register, where she is simply neutral, present and unexamined, a person in a chair. There was a time when she could do that. 12, maybe, 13, sitting on the floor of her friend Jess's bedroom, not performing, not earning, not auditing, just there. Watching Jess paint her nails badly and not saying anything, and the silence was just silence. Not loaded, not a test. Just two people in a room who didn't need a reason. She doesn't remember when that stopped. She just knows it did. And she knows that whatever replaced it, this constant, grinding, elegant machinery of preemptive apology and secret scorekeeping, she built it herself, brick by brick. And she's so good at running it now that she doesn't even feel the gears most days. It just hums in the background, like a leaf blower you stop hearing until someone asks you to listen. She's listening now, in this car, with the phone face down and the sun on the dust, and the muffled world going somewhere without her. And it's not a comfortable sound. There are 3 versions of the next 10 minutes, and Emma knows all of them. She's been running the simulations since she sat down in this seat. That's what she does. She doesn't live forward, she rehearses, builds the hallway, installs the doors, walks up to each one, and presses her ear to the wood to hear what's on the other side before she ever touches a handle. Door 1 is already open. It's always open. It's the one she walks through so often there's no handle left, just a groove where her hand goes. She picks the phone up, unlocks it, looks at the text, adds the exclamation point, sends it. "Hey, sorry, had to run, something came up." 7 words, done. And for about 90 seconds, she feels the warm, thin relief of having managed something, having closed the loop, tied the knot, submitted the assignment. She puts the phone in her bag and starts the car, and by the time she's out of the parking lot, the first reply comes in. It's from Marcus, the one who always sits closest to the door. "LOL, all good." That's it. 3 words, lowercase, no follow-up. No, "Is everything okay?" No, "We missed you." Just the textual equivalent of a shrug. And the machine starts, because LOL all good is not enough data. It doesn't confirm and it doesn't deny. It's the conversational equivalent of Hannah's small smile, a non-result. And Emma will spend the drive home and the walk to her room and the first 40 minutes of pretending to study running LOL all good through the same spectrograph she used on the laugh. Was the LOL genuine? Was the period after good intentional or automatic? Did he show the text to anyone else? Did someone in that room say, "That was weird, right?" after she left? She'll never know. She'll also never stop asking. And here's what door 1 actually costs. Not the agonizing, not the analysis, not the hours of quiet self-surveillance. She's used to those. She can carry those. She's been carrying those since before she could drive. What door 1 costs is the story. Because every time she sends the overcrafted text and gets back the lukewarm nothing, she tapes it to the wall of a room she's been building for years. A room wallpapered with evidence that she is too much, that she over-explains and over-apologizes and over-exists, and people are just tolerating it. And she hates that room. But she also keeps it immaculate. She adds to the collection with something that looks a lot like tenderness, because that room, that terrible curated archive of perceived rejection, is the only identity she has that doesn't require maintenance. Being too much is easy. It never asks her to recalculate. It just confirms what's already there. She doesn't want to be too much, but she has no idea who she is without the proof. Door 2 is louder. Door 2 has that clean, dramatic energy that feels like agency if you don't look at it too long. She deletes the group chat. Doesn't just mute it, doesn't archive it, deletes it. Removes herself from the study group. Stops going to the 2nd floor of the science library entirely. Finds a new spot, a quieter one, a solo table in the corner of the engineering building where no one knows her and no one will ever put a jacket on a chair she might accidentally sit in. And she tells herself this is self-preservation. This is choosing peace. She's not running, she's curating, trimming the excess, getting lean. And it feels incredible. For about a week. The silence where the anxiety used to be is so vast and so clean that she mistakes it for calm. No group chat to audit. No micro-expressions to decode. No tests to administer because there's no one left to take them. Just Emma, her laptop, her notes. And a silence so total it starts to hum. And then the hum gets louder. And the solo table starts to feel less like a choice and more like a box. And she realizes, not all at once, but in the slow, sick way you realize you've been driving the wrong direction for 20 miles. That she didn't choose independence. She chose the only environment where her machinery can't hurt her, an empty room. She didn't fix anything. She just removed the witnesses. Door 3 doesn't feel like anything. That's the problem. Door 3 is she puts the phone in her bag, starts the car, drives home, doesn't send the text, doesn't delete the chat, doesn't explain, doesn't curate, doesn't audit, just leaves a room full of people she barely knows to do the thing they were already going to do, which is forget about it. All of it. The chair, the jacket, the laugh, the water excuse. None of it was being stored by anyone in that room. It was only being stored by her. And door 3 asks her to let that be okay. Not beautiful, not a lesson, not growth. Just a thing that happened and then stopped happening. The way most things do for most people on most days. It's the lightest door. It costs almost nothing. Which is exactly why she can't open it. Because if the moment was never a big deal, if nobody was tracking it, if nobody cared, if her absence from that study room generated exactly 0 analysis from exactly 0 people, then the entire apparatus she built to survive social space is unnecessary. And if it's unnecessary, then all the energy she spent running it, years of energy, all that quiet, grinding daily effort, was for nothing. It was overhead on a business that never had a customer. And she's 18, and that's a lot of nothing to carry. The leaf blower has stopped. She didn't notice when. The parking lot is thinner now. 11:30, everyone's in class or gone. The sun has moved off the windshield and the dust on the dashboard is just dust again. Not glowing, not symbolic, just particles. Her hands are still in her lap. The phone is still face down on the passenger seat. She reaches over, picks it up, unlocks it. The text is still there, no punctuation. Cursor blinking at the end of up like it's waiting for her to decide what kind of person she is. She stares at it. She locks the phone. She puts it back. The engine turns over and settles into its low, indifferent rumble. She puts her hands on the wheel, doesn't move. The car idles. The lot is quiet. Somewhere across campus, a door opens and closes, and it has nothing to do with her. Nothing at all.